The following program is sponsored by Mott Community College, FlintNarrative.org, and Soul Intentions Life Coaching, LLC. You're listening to Innovative Health Radio on SuperTalk 1570. The ladies' dish on everything from veterans, preventative and holistic medicine to innovative technologies, youth, and education. Listen in as local experts provide you with the education and resources to inform, entertain, and heal the community, one Sunday at a time.
Good morning. Welcome to Innovative Health Radio. I'm your host, Kristen Willisanovich, here with my beautiful birthday girl co-host, Christy Marshall.
Hi.
So your birthday was last week.
Yes, yeah.
Tell the listeners
Last Tuesday.
how old you turned.
I turned 50.
Unbelievable.
You look marvelous.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
And in the studio with us, as always, is our amazing producer, Rusty Thomas.
Hello there. I did not have a birthday.
Nope. And I have a birthday coming up this week, so
No?
Yeah.
Well,
but
happy
it's
birthday
not about
almost.
me yet.
Yeah, it's
We're
still
gonna
about
go back.
me.
We're
It's all
going back
about
to her.
Christy.
We'll go back to her. And in the studio, we are so excited. A friend of the show, my childhood friend, executive director of the Hagerman Foundation, located here in beautiful Flint, Michigan, and recent newlywed.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Because
Congrats.
when I grew up, she was Becky Holloway, but now she's Becky Gaskin.
Okay.
Woo! Hello, darling.
Yay.
One half of the power couple of the new Gaskin power couple, Jamie Gaskin, who's head of the United Way here in Flint, Michigan.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah,
Okay.
really? It was
Isn't it
gorgeous.
fun?
You know what?
Thank you.
Congratulate. Birthday girl, newlywed. Rusty, we just need to leave because
I got
We're just
nothing.
going to party in here.
I know. We're like, I got a black coffee.
We're going to celebrate. I almost broke out into that Cool in the Gang song.
It's funny because the day after her birthday, I said,
Yeah.
hey, can't wait to see you. We'll celebrate tomorrow. But how do you celebrate the day after your 50th birthday? She looked at me. She said, I think I'm tired. No.
No, I'm celebrating all month. I've already got, things are lined up.
Right.
I'm good to go.
Right. That's what
It's
I
a
said.
birthday month.
I
Right.
told you to save some of that
Yes.
energy for me.
I got
Yes.
it. I'll just drink some of my energy drink and I'll be ready
She
to go.
pulled it together.
That's
and we
right.
made it work.
That's
so,
right.
so, my dear friend, tell us a little bit because I saw your extraordinary wedding.
It was beautiful.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And ran into a friend, a mutual friend who was at her wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just telling me the vows. And I'll probably start crying now because I got very emotional. So, not to get into personal,
Right,
I'm going to
right.
let
It's
you
okay.
talk. But what she said was they wrote their own vows.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids said things at the wedding too.
I
And
love
so
it.
Becky's son, and I'm going to let her elaborate on kind of the journey, says, she was a single mom of 4 children.
Oh, wow.
And he remembers when she sacrificed so much
Right.
for those kids and would just eat cereal for dinner. And I lost it. I just cried because to me, being close to you, I've seen your journey and where you are now. We always knew you'd be here.
Right.
Did you feel like you'd be here?
No.
It's so funny. Other
All
people
right,
can see it before
respond.
us, right?
Respond.
Well, I started my vows actually with I didn't think a love like this existed or was in the cards for me. And then there you were. So, really, it's been about 11 years since my divorce. And yes, I was a single mom of 4 kids. And
Unbelievable.
I lost my business and walked away with pretty much nothing. And so there were some hard times, and I had to accept some help from a lot of people. And sometimes that was in the way of, not having as much food. So, anyways, the kids, it was just, I thought I hid it from them well, but they noticed that they got to have their seconds. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not hungry. And then later on, I'd have about a bowl of cereal or whatever. But it was really sweet that he mentioned it. And I totally forgot about it.
But isn't it crazy that that was such a profound memory for
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, it's,
It was
it's those
really-
things that we don't think
Yeah.
our kids remember that they do, and you're shocked.
And each of
Right.
the kids said something. It was just like, how many moms get to hear this tribute?
Right.
Like this thank you.
While they're
like-
alive, right?
Yeah, like, it was
That's
so
awesome.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
each of them had something. And I just sat there going,
Wow.
I'm the luckiest mom,
Yeah.
And it was, and my one son said he went over a decade just not dating and being solo and making sure all of our needs were met. And one son talked about the sacrifice. Another son joked around about how I didn't say yes right away to dating Jamie.
I remember
Yeah.
during those days,
Yeah.
I remember you were very cautious
Yeah.
on
they're like,
jumping
Mom,
into that.
say yes. He asked you to the Lions game. What are you doing?
I'm just watching her
funny?
face right now, and
Well,
she's just lit up.
She's
Yeah.
glowing.
Yeah.
And I ran into both of them a couple of weeks ago at a friend's open house, and just seeing them side by side, there's just this like aura over
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
of them.
We're
So
both
Good
really
energy, good
blessed.
vibe, good.
We've both been through a lot, and so I think we just know that we got something really special. And it's so cool to have peace in the house. Like I was like, ooh, what is this going to be like? And
well, and can we
and
talk
it's
a little
really
bit
nice.
too? Is with you being the executive director of the Hagerman Foundation since its inception, really, right? And what a kind of journey you and Jocelyn and your whole team have gone through and learning the process and the protocol and giving the money. And we'll talk more. That's why you're here today, to talk about some of the amazing things you've done for the city of Flint. But how long have you been with the foundation?
4 years.
4 years. So how exciting, though, to have kind of that kitchen table talk with Jamie, who also has been with Big Brothers Big Sisters and now with United Way and can speak the language of the natives, really, and talking about the city of Flint and the residents and helping people.
Yeah, I bet
it's
that makes
got to
some-
be
Yeah.
really fascinating to
Good
have
discussion.
those conversations.
Right. Actually, we met, at being on panel discussions and in community meetings. I didn't know Jamie until I began my work with the foundation, and I began to learn the landscape of who's doing what in town. And when we finally connected and became more friends and then developed into the relationship, we kind of joked around about who would throw the best birthday party, because I had 16 years in childcare where I owned my own preschool in childcare, and he worked at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Flint for like 15 years. And so we joke around because we have this experience with working with children, and then we both have experience in the grant making and community development and that whole genre as well. So it's been pretty.
Wow.
We have a lot
so
in common.
lot of similarities. That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always loved you. Anyone who's in childcare, I just always love them. God bless them,
Yeah,
is what I
absolutely.
say.
Yeah, I actually met the Hagermans that way. I taught their kids preschool, and so our kids are now. Well, I have two more kids than they have the two younger children who are in their teens, and my kids are in teens. So we've gone way back from our preschool years where we developed that relationship. I met them as first as their child's teacher.
Well, how fortuitous this whole journey. Who would have ever predicted it?
No.
Never,
Yeah, no.
never. I saw it.
Yeah.
I did.
So yeah, we've had quite the journey, even with the Hagermans. They've seen my life's journey, and I worked at Diplomat for 5 years, and so and now I've landed at the foundation. So it's been a pretty remarkable journey.
We talked about this. We had a little giggle conversation about how when you were in childcare and then you were going through the divorce and the business was dissolving, how they were great friends, Phil and Jocelyn, and you're like, I'm much more than what you think I am, Phil. And so he's like, kind of tossed you the olive branch, right?
Right. I had went to them and I said, okay, I mean, I was without work.
Right.
I mean, my business was a divisible asset, and that was one of the results of the divorce, was a painful separation of the business as well. And so I went to Phil and I said, do you have anything here? And he had a job posting. I originally worked 2 hours a day covering lunches as a receptionist, answering the phones, because I just needed hours.
So that's where it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then they opened a position for the wellness coordinator, and I walked in his office and I said, I'd like to apply for that, and he's like, well, you're a preschool teacher. I go, Phil Hagerman.
You were a business owner
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
right?
I go, well, really, the niche was I was empowering. I go, I've been empowering parents to be better parents for 15 years.
Right.
Yep,
I'm just
that's
going to change the narrative and empower your employees to live healthier
Yes,
lives.
there you
Right.
go.
And he's like, that's magic. And I said, I know.
You're like,
Right.
hello,
It's all
ding,
about
ding,
it's all
ding.
about like switching the dialogue around and
it's
making it
switching
fit.
the dialogue.
And, yeah.
And I
Oh,
had some
simple
background in
shift.
teaching health and nutrition as a parent educator. One of the hugest things for parents is that health and physical activity for their kids. So I already had that, and I was a yoga instructor, and so I had those things in my wheelhouse as well a little bit to not only teach the parents. It's like, okay, And really, if you look at anyone's life, if you looked at their emotional spectrum on a timeline, you're probably going to see their weight fluctuations match their emotion fluctuations.
You're absolutely right.
Because so many people are emotional eaters.
Yep.
And time management goes into the play when you're emotionally drained. And I said, I've been through so much.
That you
That
can
I can
speak
lose
to
10
that.
I can testify to that because when I was going through my divorce, it was stress eating, and I
It was
never
stress
stress ate
eating,
like that
yeah.
much before.
And-
I was like, wow. And
So
It
wellness
is.
really is more than just eating healthy.
Right,
It's
it's
about
the emotional.
a full balance in your life and looking at
every aspect.
every aspect.
That's
So,
right.
and that was the angle I went, and it worked.
Yeah, there
He
you
was
go.
like, "You're in.
Yeah.
When
And
can
I
you
said,
start?"
I go, give me a budget. Let me run it like my business. You know.
There you go.
That
So.
isn't that incredible? So you were at Diplomat for 5 years,
Yeah.
and then that's when they started the foundation.
Yes. They started the foundation July of 2014.
Okay.
And they originally came to me to be the one non-family board member. So I
Okay.
was
Oh,
completely honored that of all the
That
people
is
they
great.
knew and trusted that they would ask me to be on the board. So I was thrilled, and I'm like,
What a
yeah, let's
compliment.
do that. Yeah, it was huge. And then later, a few months later, they actually came to me and they said, we've watched your life and you're a self-starter and you've been successful at everything. And we have a new startup and we want you to start the foundation. And I thought,
Wow.
yay, where do I sign?
Yeah.
Well, we have more to talk
Yeah.
with Becky Gaskin. We got to take a quick break. And please, listeners, don't go anywhere because we have more with Becky Gaskin of the Hagerman Foundation. I have to get used to saying Becky Gaskin.
Me too.
I have John Gleason coming on the show. I've got Rico Razzo coming on the show. It's going to be an incredible day. So don't go anywhere. And Becky Gaskin, you're staying with us because we're going to talk more about the Hagerman Foundation and some of the initiatives that you've done for the city, correct?
Yes.
I can't wait. Thank you for all you do. Seriously, you listeners, please, honestly, don't go anywhere because wait till you hear what this foundation has done for families, for residents, and especially for the children. So big thank you to Becky Gaskin for being here. So, hey, you are listening to Innovative Health Radio right here in Flint, Michigan, Genesee County, SuperTalk 1570. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Innovative Health Radio. So when we last went to break, we were talking with Becky Gaskin, Executive Director of the Hagerman Foundation. And we were talking about her personal journey, being a newlywed, and then working with Diplomat Pharmacy, which is huge in the city of Flint, with the Hagerman family, Phil and Jocelyn Hagerman, and now working as Executive Director for the Hagerman Foundation. So thank you for being in the studio with us. And there's a couple initiatives that we're going to kind of get into. Tell us a little bit.
All right. Well, there's so much we can say. Really, we've awarded about $16 million in the last 4 years.
4 years, $16 million for the city of Flint.
For the city of
That's
Flint.
amazing.
And so it's hard to narrow down, like, okay, what can we talk about today? But what's been amazing, and I think
Can I stop you real
Yeah.
quickly? And that's why we love having you and Jocelyn on the show, because we love to scream that from the mountaintops.
Yeah,
I don't think people really realize all that you do for the city. Well, just what is done for the city. And we need to come to our community leaders and really put out our hands to say thank you because it's incredible. Those are staggering numbers.
That is a
Yeah,
staggering
it's been
number.
very exciting. So we've worked with over 50 organizations in our grant making.
Wow.
And with each one, I could probably tell you a story of someone who's turned their pain into a passion. So I've met amazing people in Flint who are willing to truly move Flint forward and embrace the people and see what the needs are. And our focus is around education, the family unit, and community. And some of the things that we're very excited about recently is a project we started on very early on. Our first year of grant making, we got it with the Flint Watershed Coalition, and we provided a grant to begin the process of looking at the Flint Restoration Project. We brought it back to life, brought it back to the table, and the amazing community partners that have come to play to make things happen. And so we were very thrilled. We only awarded $200,000, which is a lot, but this is a very large project where the C.S. Mott Foundation came in with the big dollars and they got things going. We got a grant from the Michigan Natural Trust Fund. So our dollars were able to leverage other things that move this project forward. And there was recently the Hamilton Dam removal a few months ago. The Hamilton Dam, which was the second most dangerous dam in Michigan, came down.
Where is that located?
It's in Flint, right behind the University of Michigan. And so the Hamilton Dam is the first phase of the project of a larger restoration project which will naturalize the Flint River as it goes through downtown.
That's
Incredible.
great.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
so it's just the
incredible?
beginning.
Yes.
And the things that can happen around economic development when we look at all these other cities who have looked to the rivers and turned to the rivers and said, okay, let's restore them and naturalize them, and what's happened to those cities. And
That's
so
key.
we're very
That's
excited.
key for that to happen.
So was for this project, and obviously it's in phases, are you working with some of the local universities to help roll it
I
out?
mean, Kettering University has been phenomenal. University of Michigan Flint has been phenomenal. I mean, everybody is coming.
Michigan State, which is an environmental
Right.
college.
Well, and I was just
too.
going to say, I think once you start something like this, then everybody wants to get on board. Doesn't it
Yes.
seem like that?
The
It's
mi-
like they can see the benefit, and all of a sudden there's like, oh,
The Michigan Natural Trust Fund Board, who awarded us some dollars for this, came out and just visited Flint just recently in June. And they were so impressed. They said, we don't see this in other cities, the collaboration that's taking place in Flint to make this project happen and other things happen. And so that's what's exciting to us, is that people are connecting the dots and people are willing to get out of their silos and work together to make big things happen.
right.
We're much greater together.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's not about the
absolutely.
ego, it's about getting it
Yeah.
done and sharing in the
And that's what's been so
Process.
remarkable to watch and just be a part of that little segment of it.
Well, you had mentioned the Mott Foundation, and I know the Mott Foundation coupled with the Community Foundation, coupled with the Hagerman Foundation,
And the Ruth Mott Foundation.
and the Ruth Mott Foundation, you see that collaboration, and together you can move mountains.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
You just
They
moved a
just
dam.
moved a
Oh my gosh, I should
Moved
have
a
let you
dam.
have that one. I'm sorry. Next time. It is your birthday week. So that's incredible. All right, tell us a little more.
So then some of the other things that we're really excited about, we started looking at community engagement. We really worked a lot with Ruth Mott. Handy Lindsay, the president of Ruth Mott Foundation, sat down with us with his vice president Raquel, and we talked about what was happening in North Flint. We wanted to be a part of that and fill in some of the gaps. And so we awarded grants to Burston Fieldhouse and the Flint Development Center. And again, our grants were smaller, but what the things that Phil and Jocelyn like to do is to fill the gap, because we might not be able to provide the millions, but we can provide a little bit. And we've been able to add literacy centers into Burston Fieldhouse for their adult literacy program. Adults are working on their GEDs, and they're embracing family literacy. We really support the Flint and Genesee Literacy Network.
Well, I will tell you, we love that Burston Fieldhouse, and we put with the Morris Peterson Jr. Foundation, put a water filtration system
That's
in
right.
there. So their water is completely, probably, it's undetectable, not just of lead, of really any chemical.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And so the other things that are happening around these community centers, the neighborhoods and the residents are taking back their neighborhoods, and they're taking care of their neighborhoods. And there's, we have at the Flint Development Center, YMCA Safe Places is doing after school programs. There's Zumba for the elderly. And there's ways to get fit and exercise. There's basketball programs. And there's also Sylvester Broom just had their ribbon cutting, and they're almost full. And we haven't awarded a grant to them yet, but we're looking at them and we're seeing
Isn't it pretty
how we can
incredible?
partner.
Our dear friend Rico Razzo is a politician in Detroit, and he's here today with us because he had posted on social media what is going on with Flint, and we couldn't wait to have him in Flint.
Yes.
So
And
I'm so
hear it and see it,
excited
right?
that he's here to talk with us and get in the trenches with us, because it hasn't been easy, but the needle #Flint Forward is moving.
That's right.
And
It's
it's
moving big
beautiful
time. Yeah.
and
It's
incredible.
beautiful.
So we cannot wait. And just listening to this, I have goosebumps talking
too.
about it. And it's real funny, too, because I was at Buckham Alley and a woman had her yoga mat, but going to the Ferris wheel, which is part of
the
Hagerman
Hagerman.
Foundation.
Uh-huh. Right.
And we are actually doing a series in the upcoming summer edition of Innovative Health magazine. I meet with Heather Kale tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful.
Because we are doing all these local designers that are keeping their designing in Flint. They're keeping headquartered in Flint.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Ferris wheel is not part of the Hagerman Foundation,
Sorry.
but under Phil and Jocelyn Hagerman. So
Not the foundation.
Yes,
Oh,
not the
gotcha.
foundation. Just to
Under-
be clear, because
under
we're
the
the
individuals.
nonprofit. Yeah,
Right.
So we're the philanthropic needle, you know,
Right.
and they're the other.
Right. Just a little
yeah.
disclaimer
Yeah,
there.
so just make sure. But Heather Kale runs the Ferris wheel. It's doing phenomenal. They're embracing students, and that's just one of the other things happening that's so exciting.
Isn't it incredible? And you have a major focus on the north side of Flint, which is very close to my heart. My parents grew up, my whole family grew up on the north side of Flint.
Wow.
And a family friend probably last spring drove through some of the, not so nice neighborhoods. And it was their neighborhood. And he said, hey, these are the old stomping grounds. And everybody was just responding, wow, wow. It's all they could really say. And to hear your work and going in and just making that change. And Rico will speak to that. He was in the same... Right now, Detroit is booming, right? But let's talk about like 10, 15 years ago. He was in those neighborhoods, same thing in Detroit. So to see this, they're very similar. Flint and Detroit. Residents are resilient, right? We're strong automotive. We've been through the trenches and we come out. We come out on top. So
it's almost like I saw on a T-shirt, and it was when I was down in Detroit. But same thing for Flint. It said, people say Detroit's back, and the shirt said Detroit never left.
Right.
And that gives me goosebumps because it makes you think, it didn't. But we had to go through some hard times to get to a more beautiful and empowering time, right?
I mean, there's still a lot to be done, but
Absolutely.
but people are working and embracing,
Absolutely.
and it's just. I'm excited to see what Flint will look like in 5 years.
Well, I talk
Or 10.
about
Or
what
10.
Dan
10,
Gilbert,
15.
what Dan Gilbert did for Detroit. Phil Hagerman will do for Flint, and I say that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it'll take some years,
Yeah.
right? Dan did not do it overnight.
Right.
It
and
takes
just
a long
think
time.
about where we are now versus where we were 2-3 years ago.
Going back to when, what was it, the Natural Preserve, who came in?
The Michigan Natural Trust Fund Board.
To be
and
impressed
staff.
with Flint. That's what we work with Mott Community College. They're a partner of ours, and their advertising agency came into Flint, and she said, wow, this isn't what I expected. They're based out of Lansing. And I said, why are you surprised? The city is amazing.
Right. And I think it's important that we ask the residents what they want, what's most important to them, and how do they regain ownership of their community and build that up. Yes, we need to provide them jobs and skill sets to get those jobs, but also, and Ruth Mott Foundation's done a beautiful job of asking the residents what they want. And then we love collaborating with them, like, okay, let's make some things happen. So we're really, really excited about what's happening with the community centers and with the neighborhood engagement hub, working together with cleaning up, mowing lawns, and giving the neighborhoods the tools they need so that they can take back the community.
Well, really, because once you have that ownership and that pride,
And that toolbox.
you've got to, now you've just changed the whole scene. The whole, everybody's involved.
Right.
Everybody's in it. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And that's really what you need. And that's what's gonna keep
Exciting.
moving it forward.
We love you, Becky Gaskin.
you so
have to
much.
keep coming on because you are doing it.
It's exciting.
Yes.
It's amazing.
She's
It's
got
incredible.
a great personal journey, great professional journey. She's on fire.
I know. Well, you're telling me. We go to that open house, we can't even barely get to her because the crowd wants to talk. Everyone's like, hey. So a big
funny.
thank you, Becky
thank you.
Gaskin, Executive Director of the Hagerman Foundation and friend of Innovative Health Radio. We adore you. So, Christy Marshall, you're welcome. We have two gentlemen coming on the show, John Gleason, Rico Razzo. It's a Flint day, right? It's moving the needle for the city of Flint. It's all about the empowerment. And they're both two politicians. Oh, goodness. Two politicians with Christy and Kristen.
Oh, boy.
Please. We're going to show them and talk to them. We're going to outsmart them a thing or five. No, we're not. So, listeners, we're going to take a quick break, and the birthday girls will be right back, right? We're a week apart. We're the same age.
You're maybe younger.
Thank you, Becky Gaskin. You have been listening to Innovative Health Radio right here in Flint, Michigan. That's right, Flint, baby. Genesee County, SuperTalk 1570. Rico Razzo, John Gleason in the hot seat. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Innovative Health Radio. I'm your host, Kristen Willis-Novich, here with the birthday girl, Christy Marshall.
Hey.
So I filled the 2 seats with 2 very handsome gentlemen. You're welcome. That's your birthday gift.
Why did she sit next to the young one? What's that about? You get switched.
So without further ado, right, Genesee County Clerk Johnny Gleason. Hi.
Hey, glad to be back here.
How are you?
I'm better than I was last time. You told me I had a few things to work on, and I did it.
Thank you for taking the time to self-help yourself. You're welcome, America. So John Gleason, this strong Irishman from Flint, Michigan. He's a friend of the Sullivans, which is, my family. So that's why this is all, nepotism. That's why I'm
Clannish.
happy on that.
We're a little clannish here today. Huh?
Well, if you were in Omaha and you were one of the Malones, everybody would know you because that's what
she's a Malone.
Well, but prior to that, my mom
we
was a
like
Marquis,
diversity.
so both of them.
So we brought in the very handsome Latin man, next to the very handsome Irish man,
right?
Rico Razzo, former campaign manager for Mayor Duggan.
Remarkable. When you look at the transformation of Detroit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Duggan, great Irishman, great mayor, but you know what the smartest move he did? He brought the young folks in that had the new ideas.
That's exactly right.
Flint and Detroit both needed new. And Duggan
we
said, bring me in, Razzo. We got new ideas.
And he was so smart. And let's go back, because when I met you when you were first working on his campaign, and he had to write his name in, right, into the ballot.
Yeah, right in candidacy that a lot of people thought was an uphill battle, and it was.
Right. It was a major uphill battle.
No major city had ever had a politician win a write-in candidacy like that.
Yeah,
is that not incredible? I remember when all this was going down, and you were out there knocking on doors, and it was an uphill battle, and he won. How incredible was that?
It was, it's amazing when you do all the work and you know you have an uphill battle. Election day comes, you win the primary, you go on and win a close general election. And then looking back 5 years ago, to where we're at now is pretty amazing.
Right.
When you look at history, whether it's John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Obama, Clinton, you just routinely, you govern the way you campaign.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Duggan brought in the people, the youth, the new ideas, and
the vision.
You can literally transition from an aggressive, informative, engaging campaign to the same type of government. And that's the same format that they used in Detroit.
And he did it. I don't know when the guy sleeps. He works 8 days a week.
Morning, noon, and night, right.
And just on the campaign like we did, we did the same thing in city government the last 4 years.
Well, and I love having you both here in the studio at the same time. And, you, John, how long have you been in politics?
This is about my 25th year, quarter century.
Wow. Exactly.
Yeah. I worked for a living. I worked 24 years, actually, as a millwright in the International Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners.
Nice.
Okay.
So I had a tool belt on for 24 years, and I knew what a dollar meant to a family.
That's right. That's right. And Rico? How long have you been involved?
He hasn't been alive that long.
So, and it's funny. I've been in doing community work for a decade now. And when people see me, they're like, "You don't have a gray hair in your head. How old are you?" But I started in the nonprofit world 10 years ago as a youth development professional. Went on to train and mentor over 2,000 young men and women. And then went on to be appointed by Mayor Duggan in 2014 to run the largest district of 107,000 people in the city of Detroit.
What district was that?
Council District 6.
Yeah, you had the 6th
predominantly
district.
Southwest Detroit, large Latino population.
Okay.
Yeah. And talk about the transformation. And then we talk about Detroit, going down to Detroit now. Like, it's incredible. People are taken aback by the transformation within probably the last, would you say, 6, 7, 8, even 10 years?
Yeah, I would say quickly over the last, 3 years, there's been every time people come back, they'll leave 2 months, come back, and they're like, wow, there's something new here.
Yep, I agree. I'm one of those people.
And it's great to get a lot of visitors and tourists that come in, and Detroit's ranking high on a lot of lists that people want to go visit.
The DMA, yes.
But we also have another, 133 square miles of residential space, and right now the city's looking at planning out areas and bringing back commercial corridors, building new housing. in just making sure our city services are still up and running. I mean, we were at a point in the city where, lights were being shut off, trash may have been picked up on time, police may respond, EMS may respond, and now a lot of that stuff is back up and running, and you have
whole
buses.
Different ball game.
Yep. What's that?
I said a whole different ball game now.
Oh yeah.
Right? Remember, they didn't have lights. They didn't have street lights.
Right. Yeah,
that was one of his first hurdles.
I was in Lansing when that was.
Yeah, you probably worked on the public lighting authority.
I was in the Senate when that was being
yes.
formatted.
That was one of his first line items agenda for Duggan, to get those lights turned back
so
on.
it was out of Lansing. The public lighting authority came out of Lansing, the 65,000 lights, and obviously the mayor helped to implement it in the city on time and under budget.
I have goosebumps. It's pretty incredible. So you're here today because you and I've been friends for several years, and you made a post about Flint. So we said, come on up, baby.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about it. And Flint and Detroit are so similar. Would you say there's a lot of similarities? John?
They have a lot of challenges, but with challenges come opportunity.
Yes.
And you have to have the right leadership in place. This is it is troubling because what Rico's talking about is what Flint's going through at the same time. Right. There's just so much. One of the most important elements that the citizens can bring is patience, because there's so much. You have transportation, you have health, you have education. Nothing is working the way it should. So you need to be patient. It's this transformation when you're looking at a city of 750,000 or a city of ours around 90,000. It's slow. You don't have the resources because there's been so much neglect over the last few decades.
Right. It's going to take time.
It's hard to recover. If you don't take care of your home and the roof and the plumbing and the foundation goes, you might as well start over.
Right.
You can't really recover or renovate that home, and that's the effort that Rico, Duggan are leading in Detroit, and we need to exude this and exemplify that same patience. When you read the headlines, which is not fair.
They're not fair.
No.
Because when you look at the headline, I read the Detroit papers regularly to figure out what's going on around the state. The headlines are not as friendly or intellectual as they should be, because there's so much to fix. They say, well, Duggan promised this over here, and he needs to do more here. There needs to be more inclusion with the demolition. But listen, it's happening, but not at the rate a lot of people.
Everybody wants a magic fix. They want it now.
You can't fix
the
something.
The CSI effect, right?
I mean, you look at Flint, which became a model for many other cities that now look and say, our infrastructure's old too. And the same thing that happened in Flint could happen to us. And in the city of Detroit alone, you look at 120,000 lead lines that need to be replaced going into people's houses. With the workforce we have right now, you're looking at a 40-year fix for that.
Right.
And then, at the state level, when you start getting rid of prevailing wage and trying to break up unions, it sends a message that, skilled labor force is not really welcomed here. And we're trying to push the skilled trades at the same time in Detroit because we need a work staff, a workforce to come in, replace all these lead lines and build our infrastructure.
That's a whole other conversation, right?
I'm going to tell you right now, with my history, my career choice as a young person, and what Rico's talking about here, when somebody's going to put the link between a public utility and my residence, I want a qualified, well-trained, high-skilled pipe fitter to put in my lead 100%. From the public utility to my private home.
Right. That's right.
When they're talking about getting rid of prevailing wage, I don't want the lowest price pipe fitter I can get. I want the highest qualified.
Skilled trade, yes.
I mean, they're providing my lifeline.
And what goes through my head, and I'm sure yours as well, is we're losing skilled trade workers.
Yep.
Even this new demographic that's coming up, these what are they? Gen Z? I don't know what they are.
They're young, Christine. They're young.
They're
the
young.
After millennials.
After the millennials are not. They're not going into skilled trades. No. Technology is where they want to be.
100,000 jobs.
Yeah.
My family is just up. That's what we did. 3 generations, our family were tradesmen. That's what we did. Our family were leaders.
My father just retired from being a pipe fitter, plumber.
Really?
From General
we
Motors.
Need him, Rico.
Yeah,
but there's 100,000. There's 100,000 opportunities today for tradesmen. what we need to do is get back what happened with our grandparents. Our grandparents thought it was critically important to have metal shop and wood shop. And drafting in high school.
I remember those big time growing up.
We need to put those back in the public high schools.
Yeah, the disinvestment has hurt our workforce over time. But you look at, again, with the city of Detroit, we just invested $10 million into Randolph Training Academy School, where we have our DPS students in high school. 300 kids are going to get trained, and then in the afternoon we're opening it up for adult education so that our adult parents can start getting trained in the skilled
we
trade.
need to make it hype again to like be a
That's it. It's all in marketing.
It is.
Listen,
it's in marketing. It's in getting these kids to see
engaged.
that there's another
and
way.
and the dollars you can make.
Exactly.
doing it.
Really,
Okay, listen,
you
I
can.
have to take a break. And I feel like it's going
Why
to
does it
get
always
heated.
have to be your
And
idea?
listen to me. I feel like this squad right here, our foursome, is going to change the world. I just feel it. Don't you, Rusty? No, don't ask him.
we the
He's
Sullivan's
grumpy
Club?
today. He's grumpy.
What do you mean today?
So, listeners, please don't go anywhere. More with Rico Razzo, right? We're talking about Detroit's comeback. More with John Gleason. We're talking about Flint's comeback. More with my girl, Christy Marshall. Hey, what an engaging conversation we're having. And I can't believe you're both here in the same room. It's pretty electric. Yeah, thank you both for being here. So you are listening to Innovative Health Radio right here in Flint, Rico. Flint, baby, Flint town.
I made it.
Genesee County, SuperTalk 1570. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Innovative Health Radio. I'm your host, Kristen Willisonovich, here with Christy Marshall, here with John Gleason and Rico Razzo. Hello. So when we went to break, we were getting a little heated, getting a little
excited,
energized.
I think, was really,
yes,
yeah.
That's the proper word. And really excited to have former Duggan campaign manager Rico in the house talking about Detroit's comeback. And we're here with John Gleason, Genesee County Clerk here in Flint, Michigan, baby. And actually, John, I'd like to talk a little bit about your nonprofit organ donation. And I want to talk about, this is such a beautiful story about how it came to fruition. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I received, it's hard to believe, another anniversary's coming up, September. I received a kidney from my sister, Rita. September 18th of 2001.
That's my birthday.
Of course it is.
There you go. It's synergy right here.
Of course it is.
See, he got a whole organ. I got one. He got a lot of them. He
Gosh
got a
darn
bunch.
it.
He got every dang thing he could get.
Must have been that.
Here I'm trying to
You
glorify.
got it all. You got one thing.
These new guys, they're so greedy.
say a lot
What
of
about
things.
us guys? You can't say Sullivan.
I
You
love
can't
it.
say anything that hasn't already been said. Believe me. My wife and I, we wear these shirts around, and I'm just getting another batch. I'm gonna have them made that says, "Of course, I'm an organ donor. Who wouldn't want a piece of this?" And we wear them around. You can't believe when we
I
go
love
out of
it.
state
I want
and
one.
people want our pictures taken
want one.
I
with
want
our
one,
back.
too.
But we just are going to get a new batch of those ordered.
I love
I
it.
want it.
I
You
love
got to
it.
send one to me.
Can I ask what size?
Yeah, medium. Get medium.
Oh, yes.
Well, these
of
guys
course.
need small.
Yeah,
Yes,
mediums. Yeah,
yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
We're just ordering a new batch of them.
I love
Which
that.
reminds me that we will have some of those as door prizes, raffles
Perfect.
on July 25th, our organ donation education concert
And that's
in Flushing, Michigan.
in Flushing, Michigan.
7 o'clock.
Wow. And last year, how much did you raise?
Well, that night we don't raise money. That's an educational
Oh, it's more of an
awareness.
okay.
But we just 2 weeks ago we finished up our annual sporting clay shoot, which is kind of ironic when you shoot guns to raise awareness for organ donation. And we've done this for 13 years, and we haven't had a recipient off the site yet. So everybody's taking good care of their firearms. But we're around $55,000, $60,000.
John Gleason.
Wow.
But it's an unusual, kind of an ironic way to raise money for
I
organ
love it,
donation.
though.
But this guy here next to me, he has the real champ.
Yes.
Ramona Chapman, Motep, down in Detroit.
Yes.
She does the minority organ
Yes.
work. That lady is a champion. She comes up to almost every event that we have in Flint, pushing the organ donation
Love it.
need
That's
because
love
of the
it.
minority requirement.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just want to say the Gleason Community Foundation, I want to thank all of the sponsors. It's a great event. We gave away a scholarship. Maybe some of you have heard that we gave away scholarships this year to some college students, but we're also driving hard. We want a minority scholarship for a medical student. We want to send a minority student to school to become a transplant doctor.
Wow.
Awesome.
We feel that the transplant doctor has to look more like the patient.
I'm going to tell you, if he wasn't a politician, I think he could be a transplant doctor. He could be a model. He could be.
I would have had to been pretty good at science, and science was one of my weak subjects.
Okay, you're
right.
more
So he couldn't have
language
been
like
that.
me, right?
Exactly, language
You're more
and arts,
language.
yep.
Yeah.
Sullivan, you just see the talent in people.
Guilty.
However,
She got me on here. I don't know.
Hey, but I'm bummed.
and I'm only an invite. You're a regular.
All right.
I don't know. I feel like you might be taking the show over, but that's okay.
How would
It's
you
all
like
right.
to have this guy, Rico, up in Flint? Would he be fabulous
We
for
do
our
need
community?
that. Are you kidding me? The crowd goes wild. Absolutely. Because
Rico for state rep.
Yes, exactly. But can we also say as well, his hashtag is no days off.
Yes.
And he literally, morning, noon, and night, he is in the trenches, he is in the neighborhoods, he is knocking on doors, he is out there, and he is incredible. And bless you,
My
BB.
God, he's only 19 years old.
Right.
For God's sake, what were you doing? You didn't make many curfews. Carolyn, you didn't make many
keg beer
curfews.
at U of M.
Yeah, but you snuck through the door late at night. You didn't take many days off when you were his
No.
age either.
That's funny.
No, I still don't, but that's okay. But listen to me. Both of you are dynamos and you're champs in your passion. And we can't thank you enough as residents for you being community leaders, for really being national leaders, but for really representing both of your respective cities.
That's right.
You have changed the course, you have changed our course, and you've really moved the needle. And sitting next to both of you, I mean, I know you're both Democrats, which what we try to stay pretty independent. But I think what we try to do is be for the right person,
Yes.
and you both are the right
Yes,
people.
and,
so
and
thank you.
Going back
Thank
to
you.
a comment that John, you said earlier, you know, it's when Duggan brought him in, it's bringing in
The right
talent, the right people, the people that are gonna be
pieces.
they're the extension of you, you know, and that's really it.
But I
There's-
think too, you know, sorry to interrupt you, but you know, as a leader, you can't do everything.
Right?
No.
You
Right?
can't.
And you have to cultivate
you're a good
young
leader,
talent as well. Some leaders they don't do that. They're selfish. They don't
Right.
pass on the knowledge and wisdom.
Right.
They think, oh, these young kids, they're lazy. They don't
Yeah.
do anything. We talk all the
That's
time
not
about
true.
how amazing
Oh, young
this.
kids are awesome.
They're
They
incredible.
just need somebody
They
to
need
get some
somebody to
wisdom
give
from.
them the chance
That's
and
it.
to be a mentor.
When you look at Mayor
Yeah.
Duggan, I learned how to be a better civil servant over a remark that was made by Ted Kennedy a quarter of a century ago. He said that he sought out the smartest law school students that he could acquire around Washington, D.C., Georgetown, American University. He went to the universities and he said, there was one job that was not available in my Senate office. And I've used it 100 times since then. There's one job that's not available in my office. I'm the dumbest person. You have to acquire. It takes a little work, and you have to go ask people to join you. And that's what Duggan did with Rico. The dumbest person should be the office holder. Because you have to just acquire, and
All
you're
of that
overwhelmed.
knowledge. Yep.
Transportation, health care, lighting, as you
can't,
mentioned.
You can't know it all.
They
need
say
to-
your brain's like a computer.
And
it
then you
gets
say, Rico,
overloaded with
but-
information.
Yeah.
When you look what Duggan did to Rico, go get him. 117,000
He
people.
saw it. He saw
Go
it.
get him.
He saw it.
You get the best, and then you do not micromanage them. You let them
Right.
turn the stallions
Right.
loose.
And
That's
you
right.
see what they bring to the table and the value that they bring. But I think in talking to you, John Gleason, what I think the biggest predictor for the future is history, is studying history, and to have
Learning from it.
mentors who will say, history will tell you. I am just like obsessed with listening to you and talking about the history of politics or what has happened or what is engaged, what is the future and moving forward. If we don't have both of you, we are stagnant. Truly.
Proverb.
Yeah.
Young men have dreams. Old men have vision. Where there is no vision, people perish.
Right.
You got to have both.
Yep,
Right.
That's right.
Got to have both of them.
That's right. And a good leader, like you said, always surrounds themselves with smarter people and people that know, like people that can bring the information. And they're willing to ask. They're willing to set aside their ego. They're willing to ask for help. They're. That's what a good leader is.
That's exactly right. And because we're learning every day, all of us.
Right.
All of us.
That's right.
So, real quickly, Rico, what is some of your visions for the city of Detroit? A lot of things are happening, but what do you see? What do you predict?
Well, I think, we talk about growing the population in the city. It's a 60-year decline, and just recently it's been starting to level off a little bit.
Okay.
But what we need is to make sure that our education system and another thing that a lot of people talk about is auto insurance rates are down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that people will want to move into the city if they can send their kids to good schools and not have to pay $600 a month for auto insurance.
So to play devil's advocate a little bit, what about gentrification? Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, you see people.
Are you worried about it?
You see people that move in to the city and an area that may have been pretty bad, 5-10 years ago,
Right.
where you probably wouldn't have walked down.
Look at Corktown, right?
Yeah, Corktown has always been pretty decent.
But look at
you
the
look
rates,
at like
though.
the rates, and then you talk about Ford Motor coming in, and I think we just have to be careful as a city on making sure that we accommodate those who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years. I think people look at this and they're like, okay, what's the city going to be built for? Is it for new people coming in, or is it a mix of helping people who've been here through the good and bad times
and balance
and have held the city together?
That's right.
That's great.
So I think we just have
That's
to make sure that
goosebumps.
we do that.
Yeah,
and I think we'll be in a good
This
place.
guy's
Well, he's going to
fabulous.
take your job.
I hope he does. I hope he does. This kid
love
is
that.
fabulous, young man. I'm telling you right now. You look what he's talking about, because when Detroit gets the
telling me?
insurance right, Detroit gets the insurance right, Flint will too, because it is called redlining.
Yeah.
Where minorities live in congregations, the insurance rate's the highest. When you live in Flint, Michigan, your insurance is out of sight compared to what it is in Flushing, Davis, and Clio.
Right.
We see it. It's called redlining.
Yeah.
And what he's doing, this young guy here, which is makes me just so proud of him, there's no industry tougher to battle in
That's
America
right.
than insurance. You want to talk about high healthcare costs? It's because of the insurance industry. You want to talk about high auto insurance? It's because of the insurance companies themselves.
That's right.
Rico here is taking on one of the biggest challenges. But I can promise you one thing. He'll win because he doesn't quit. And when he gets Detroit right, Flint will be right.
Yay! And on that note, what an
Powerhouses
amazing
here.
I told you, right?
I'm yeah.
Oh,
This
thank
has
you.
been beautiful.
You're welcome. No, seriously, a true honor to have you
Yes,
both. Rico
yes.
Razzo, John
Thank you so
Gleason,
much.
and a big thank you to Becky Gaskin, too, of the Hagerman Foundation.
Marvelous.
Here's to the rise of the city of Flint. Here's to the rise to the city of Detroit. Big thank you, because we wouldn't be on that uptick if it weren't for all three of you. What an honor. So that's our show. Big thank you to Christy Marshall, you beautiful creature, you. Happy birthday. Thank you to our producer, Rusty Thomas. And I'm your host, Kristen Willis-Novich. Innovative Health Radio, right here in Flint, Michigan. SuperTalk 1570. Make it a great day.
The preceding program was sponsored by Mott Community College, FlintNarrative.org, and Soul Intentions Life Coaching, LLC.